have to excuse my voice in this video because, as I mentioned last time, I got a cold and it got a little bit out of hand. But I can't wait because once again Riot is on fire. On top of the Ruination event being tested on PvE, and the new Valorant cinematic, and the new TFT cinematic that is based on its lore, we also got a new trailer for Arcane. And even though it is only 2 minutes long, let's have a look at all the Easter eggs and let's turn it into an unnecessarily long video. But before we start, we need to talk about the main reveal. In Riot's dev post talking about Arcane, and in the description of this trailer, Riot finally confirmed that Jinx and Vi are sisters. But now you may be saying, that's not a secret, everyone has known about that for years. To which I say, no, you're wrong. If you dig into all the canon lore and references, you may notice that Riot never even mentioned that Vi and Jinx could be sisters. The only time something happened was in Jinx's quote where she mentioned that she has a sister.
You think I'm crazy? You should see my sister.
But this quote never led anywhere near Vi. Of course, then there was the accidental confirmation from Ghostcrawler, who in an interview told everyone that Vi and Jinx are sisters. After which the narrative team told us that we shouldn't believe what Ghostcrawler is saying because he's not part of the narrative team. In hindsight, now we know that that was just the narrative team trying to cover up for him. And so it is still very much possible that Ghostcrawler confirmed that the two are sisters because he was working on Arcane even back then. That just shows us how long Riot has been working on this series. Regardless, since now it is confirmed that the two are sisters, that's an end to a very long mystery. So now we just need 2 more things to tick off in our bingo. Based on his quotes, Warwick will still probably be mentioned in the series. He may probably be playing part in the childhood disaster. And in fact, it would be a really cool twist if this person was actually Warwick.
You were there. Let me forget.
It's not impossible. But also, since Fiddlesticks is a demon that is replicating human sounds which it heard somewhere, I am pretty sure he confirms a line which someone will shout in the series.
Jinx! All your fault! All your fault!
But these are just speculations. So now, without further ado, let's have a look at what the new trailer revealed. It starts with Jinx stepping into an arcade. The first game we see is one of those where you throw a ball at targets. But at either side of that game, there is this snake lady statue which a lot of people got confused about. Here I have to say that I doubt this is based on Cassiopeia. If you have a look at the tail, this looks less like a snake person and more like a mermaid, which makes me believe that maybe this is based on the Mirai. But regardless, since mermaids are part of this universe, it is unsurprising to see mermaids being used for mysterious figures. And so it fits this mystical arcade game. And then we get a first zoom in on Jinx's face. I made a whole video about this, and so once again let me mention that Jinx's eyes are blue, even after the childhood disaster. So let me quickly remind everyone the theory that we have about this. You see, when Vi and Jinx were kids, there was some kind of an accident. This obviously gave them a trauma. But that's not the reason why Jinx goes crazy later on. Here you can definitely see that she is still sane. She is not crazy by any means. And that's underlined by the color of her eyes. Here they are blue, while in-game, where she's already crazy, she has purple eyes. Now we know that in the Arcane series, the villains are using some kind of a purple chemical. Whatever this stuff is used in a lot of high-end tech, and it is responsible for the main villain turning into a monster. The theory goes that right now Jinx is not crazy yet, but she will get influenced by the purple stuff in this series. And by the end of it, that is probably what will make her go insane. At this point I put a lot of thought into this theory, so I'm really hoping Riot didn't change Jinx's eyes to blue just because it looked cool. That would be the ultimate betrayal. Now as Jinx explores the place, there is a couple of really interesting details. First of all, back there you can see an actual arcade machine. So that kind of technology actually exists on Runeterra. But also above her, you can see a pair of shoes hanging on a wire. In real life, this actually has a couple of meanings tied to it. Hanging shoes on a wire are usually tied to bullying, you know, when a kid throws away your shoes so you can't get them back. But also, hanging shoes on a wire are the symbol of an organized crime. This is likely a lead to why this place is ruined. And it's a really cool detail. Anyway, then Jinx stumbles upon a plate with a face drawn on it. Now, it is understandable if you thought that this face was Vi. This shot specifically is just a brilliant bait. The pink hair specifically really make it seem so. But when Jinx picks it up and brushes off the dust, it reveals the eyebrows. And that's when we learn that this is actually face of the other kid that was part of their gang when they were kids. This is the same person who later grows up and joins the side of the villain. So it is highly likely that this guy betrays them later on. And since it seems like he will be part of the accident, that's why there is the very tiny chance that this might actually be Warwick. Anyway, then Jinx looks to the side and sees a scoreboard. It is obvious that this is a scoreboard based on how it's organized. But if you carefully look at the letters, you can actually just about make out the text high score. And you can see that the scoreboard is entirely dominated by Vi, with only the 2 last places being taken by someone called Clegg, whom is someone unknown to us. Regardless, the interesting thing about the scoreboard is that if you have a look at the first 2 places, you can see that when Vi got the first place, she broke her own record by about 550 points. That's a massive jump compared to all the other places. Which makes me wonder if Vi got the first place with the help of something like her Atlas gauntlets. In other words, it is possible that she cheated to get the first place. And this is important because it plays into what Jinx does at the end. And then a wild crow appears. Here I wanna mention that there is a very slight difference in Jinx's gun. In game it has 2 energy cells, but here it only has 1. The reason being that here it looks cooler when it's hanging on her hip. Also, I love that some of the smear images actually double Jinx's gun, to make it look like it's actually spinning. Regardless, some people wonder if this crow belongs to Swain, and while I don't believe that is the case, it is definitely not impossible. And that's because Swain does actually have a quote against Jinx, once again hinting at what will happen in the story.
Faces fading in the flames. It was all her fault.
Then again, I don't think this crow specifically belongs to Swain. I love this shot because this gives us a perfect reading of Jinx's personality. You can see that she's definitely not crazy. Her moves are calculated and the way she tilts her head makes us feel like she is even cautious. There are no chaotic moves at all. And then of course, after she chuckles, she lets us know that she is still hot-headed. I believe this is the part of her personality that will be multiplied when she goes insane. And then she approaches the boxing game, which gives her flashbacks. Here it is interesting to see that even in the flashback, the score is the exact same. So since it hasn't changed, the flashback might actually be the last time anyone has used this machine. Also notice the boxing man in the background. Later on there is a cool Easter egg with that. And the fact that this machine has not been used for a while is further underlined by the fact that it is covered in cobwebs. Then we get a cool scene of Jinx actually fixing the machine. And then we get a full shot of this place of how it looks now. And this is where we get the cool Easter egg in the background. You can see that someone sprayed over the boxing guy, and they drew the head of a warden. Which is interesting because later in the story, Vi joins the Wardens of Piltover. So I wonder if Jinx was here before, and this is how she mocked Vi. Who knows, maybe it was actually Jinx who ruined this place as a part of an organized crime. And then we get the cool maddening sequence. On top of the fact that Vi is being written all over the place. Notice that the purple colors are also being heavily utilized here. This might be the foreshadowing of Jinx going insane. And what's even cooler is that in the first flashback, Jinx's bunny toy has a purple smear across its eye. That might actually be the real foreshadowing. Then of course we get some heartwarming moments, and moments where Vi lost her cool during the accident, and that's what made Jinx snap. I have not much to say on this, all of this is just really cool. But funnily enough, notice that the faceplate actually has a different face drawn on the other side. When she hits it, it spins around, and it reveals the guy with the shocked face. And then we get this quick shot which really got people curious. The way Jinx is posed here makes it seem like she is tied up, almost as if she is in some facility. Maybe that's where she got pumped with the purple stuff. And some people thought that this is the scene that really teases Warwick. There is the theory that Warwick could be their father, and this would be Jinx watching him getting tortured. But I don't think that's the case because of 2 reasons. We know how Warwick was turned into the beast. That entire process was described by Singed in his story. And we know he was there alone, Jinx was never mentioned. But also, Singed mostly experiments on people who are worthless to the society. He usually just picks up drunk people from the streets and he cuts them to pieces. And in the creepiest story League has ever got, it was mentioned that Singed wouldn't kidnap a person that was a parent. He would only really experiment on nobodies that no one cared about. So Warwick being connected to Jinx and Vi wouldn't really fit that narrative. And then we get to the final scene, which reveals something really cool. First of all, we can see that Jinx only got 2nd place. Even after her efforts, she wasn't able to beat Vi's highest score. But here's the thing. Because it is possible that Vi cheated to get the 1st place. If she didn't do it, Jinx would be 1st, and that might be one of the reasons why she gets mad here. But more importantly, look at the names. Jinx is not actually using her name, Jinx, even though it is only 4 letters, and so it would fit here. Instead, she is using Pow. This could be a reference to one of her guns, which I believe is called Pow Pow, but this is most likely a shortcut. When it comes to games, people always use their nicknames, and during the old days in arcades, they used abbreviations of their nicknames. Now, if that's the case, both Vi and Pow may be standing for something. So in this case, I really wouldn't be surprised if Vi stands for victory and Pow stands for power. Those could be their real gang names. But the point is that this reveals that Jinx will later rename herself. Maybe she will start calling herself Jinx because it fits the fact that everything around her crumbles. Maybe she will start thinking that she jinxes everything, and that would be the origin of her name. But that is it for this trailer. As I mentioned, it is only 2 minutes long and we still turn it into an unnecessarily long video. Can you imagine what I'll do when we actually have to cover full episodes? Regardless, the biggest reveal of this is still the fact that these two were confirmed as being sisters. Now, there is still the chance of them not being blood-related sisters. Maybe they just call themselves sisters in the gang, which would confuse people once again. I swear to God, if Riot pulls off the reverse Uno card, I am going to lose it.